Hello and welcome to the WhiteSky Studio core functionality video. This video is part of the Apollo training data where we have Apollo missions and astronauts. And this video concentrates on the high-level overview of the querying functionality baked into the core of the system. So if we have a look at one of our Apollo queries, we can select our existing mission summary query. And this query just gives us a high-level overview of an Apollo mission and each of the astronauts on the mission and some basic information about both. Other videos cover the how to create queries, which boils down to you being able to query all of the information in the system, everything about any object in the system, being able to create aggregate functions, sorting, grouping, filtering, where clauses, and a lot of advanced features behind that. What we want to concentrate here is how the system bakes these queries into the actual functionality in the system. So if we have a look at the results of this system, the first thing that you'll notice is that we're not actually doing what most querying tools do, which is just display a list of the results, and you can't really do anything with that data. What we've done is put all of the results into exactly the same grids that you've seen everywhere else in the application. So again, you're familiar with the functionality, which means that all of this data is paged. So even if the query takes a long time to run, because it's only downloading the first 25 results, it should run a lot quicker, and the data that we're downloading is a lot less. On top of that, you've got the sorting, the grouping, the filtering, the querying, the searching functionality. All of that is consistent on the actual results of the query that you've been given. So users are immediately familiar with the functionality and the abilities that they have. So just because everywhere else in the system they can sort and group and filter, they can do the same here with this, meaning they can slice and dice the data to the way that they want to view it, instead of having to request additional reports to be created to look at the data they want to. So they could just grab this and say that they want to group the data by the moon landing. So they can always drill down and look at the data any way that they'd like to. Likewise, they can search across the data as well. So, and again, it's not just searching the mission or any other particular field, it's searching all of the fields against that data. So we can always drill down and search for data any way we like. So we can sort, group, filter, query, search, to the extent that we can also edit the data as well. So we can actually say, well, I'd like to update this astronaut's date of birth and update some information about the mission, and then we can commit that back to the system. Now obviously this functionality can be locked down, but you can see immediately how with a simple query you can provide users the ability to slice and dice the data the way they'd like to edit the data, to the extent that you could create a query that says, just give me a list of all pending tasks that are assigned to me and their status and so on, and you could drag and drop that query and put it on the home page. So as soon as someone logs in, they're presented with all the information that's relevant to them, and they can just tick approve, 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 and hit save. So it gets you towards the stage of actually saying that everything that you want from a management perspective is there when you log in and is there against every entity in the system. Now, in addition to that, the system knows that this query was created using an astronaut and using a mission. So on any row that we select, the system gives us the ability to say, well, would you like to open up the corresponding mission or open up the corresponding astronaut? So with one click, again, the system will go off and actually open up that entity. And all of this is just baked into the system. It's nothing you have to do. The system will just do it for you. And of course, this means that because it has this context sensitivity, when we drag and drop this query and put it against a mission, the system will only display the results for that mission. Likewise, when we drag and drop it against an astronaut, it will only display the results for that astronaut. So immediately users can start having the management information against a company, a contact, a project, a risk analysis, everywhere in the system, which means that within 5 minutes you can create these queries and actually give users the feedback they want without having to rely on custom reports being created and so on. Now, of course, in terms of actually reporting on the data, we can export all of this data into Excel, and we can export it all into Word for mail merges. When you export it into Excel, it exports it into the actual named ranges. So if we export this into our default Excel, we can see that it's dumped all of this result into named ranges, and including named ranges for every single individual column. And this means that we can then create a new tab, create pivot table analysis, create reports based on those named ranges. And we could say, for instance, well, I'm only interested in looking at Apollo 12, 13, 14, 8, and 11, and hit filter. So I could filter the result down to just the results I want, and then I could say I want to export it into a predefined template that we've created. And of course the system will run the query just for those results and dump it out into our predefined template. And if we have a look at the data sheet, we can see the data's still here, it's still in the named ranges, and of course our report is working off of those named ranges. So you can see how very easily users can create their reports or reuse their existing reports in Excel, create that analysis, upload it into the system, so within one click they can get that analysis out of the system. Likewise, you can actually create the charts in the system, so you can create bar graphs, charts, etc., all of the type of information that you want, and display it graphically. Now again, it's context sensitive, so the system knows that this is just giving us the total hours or the total days against every single Apollo mission. So we can click on any one of these segments and the system will go off and open up the corresponding Apollo mission. So here we've opened up Apollo 9. We can see that it's a total of 10.04 days, which is what we were getting here within the system as well. So again, you don't have to do anything. All of that functionality is just automatically created for you by the system. And you can just go off with one click and open up these items. Likewise, we can export all graphs into Excel, so we can verify that the actual information that is creating this graph, we can actually see all of the data behind it and to how it's created. So if we look at, for instance, this home page, we can see this is the total time in space, again broken down by days, and we can export this data into any predefined analysis for us, and the system will go off and put all of that data into our template. And we can verify, again, we can unhide and actually look at the raw data, and we can verify how all of that's been created in the system. So you can see there's a lot of advanced functionality within the queries as well that allow you to schedule queries, to automatically make the system export it into certain FTP sites, to do advanced kind of grouping or hierarchical queries, to create professional looking reports, and all of that's covered in more of the advanced training sessions to do with the querying tool. What we're showing you here is how that once you've created a query, which only takes a couple of minutes, the rest of the functionality is taken care of you for the system. Users can slice and dice the data, they can create Excel reports, they can put all of this against the objects in the system, against their home pages. So immediately users start getting all of that feedback, and they don't need to have custom reports created. They don't have a query that just gives them a text file list of data that they can't do anything with. It's making the reporting part of the system. Thank you.